Oh, she looks beautiful. Scared, but beautiful. Well, I wasn't sure if I'd ever see this day. I wasn't sure she'd ever be with anyone long enough to settle down. And a white wedding. Well, I told her she'd better wear white thermals if she was having it in March, but she just laughed at me. We'd had loads of arguments about there being more snow in March than any other time of year, but she'd always pooh-poohed me. Oh, but there we were, making lists, looking at invite cards, deciding who to use for the vegan menu, with Unbelievable Truths on in the background on the radio, when, blow me, wasn't David Mitchell going on about the Met Office snow statistics for December and March and getting really worked up? Well, I turned the volume up. I told Janine to listen. Sandy Toksvig was almost speechless at Mitchell's rantings, and so was Janine. I fell about laughing at the look on her face, knowing that I was proved right about there being more snow in March and the need for thermals. Not that I needed any radio show or Met Office statistics. I knew all about snow in March. And while I was laughing on the outside, I was crying inside. Crying at what was lost, at what I'd lost, at what Janine had lost, and she didn't even know she'd lost anything. But it told, well, in her behaviour, her always flitting from one man to another, searching for something, someone. She was the same as a child. I mean, don't get me wrong, she always had lots of friends. She was so bubbly, always willing to try something new, always curious. She had a great imagination. She always kept them wrapped with all the stories she could tell. But she never had, what do they call it now, a BFF? Yeah, someone that she shared all her secrets with. Those were reserved for her imaginary friend, the one she concocted stories with and had long conversations with. Sometimes she'd really scare me. Well, she'd be crying in corners and shouting and running downstairs manically, clothes all dishevelled. I'd come out of the kitchen thinking she'd hurt herself or seen a mouse or a rat or an intruder. I'd catch her in my arms. I'd ask her what was wrong. "I'm okay, Mummy," she'd say. "It's just me and Sally." We're making up stories about being chased by highway robbers and dragons and monsters. And I'd hold her in my arms even tighter then, so she couldn't see the tears in my eyes. And Janine would wriggle, squeaking, "Mummy, I can't breathe." And I'd kiss her brown curls and let her go. And off she'd scamper, beckoning behind her. I'd stare and stare to see if I could see what Janine saw. I never did. Janine's teenage years nearly drove me and Jack apart. Getting into scrapes, just doing outrageous things that horrified me. At 12, she was stealing from shops. 13, she was experimenting with drugs, and by 14, she was the first in her class to have sex and began to get regularly smashed. Well, we knew because she told us. She seemed to take delight in it. Took delight in seeing us arguing. And me crying, making excuses for her. Jack drinking and shouting about how he was a laughingstock at work. Well, eventually he couldn't cope with her behaviour. So he changed the locks. And so she spent weeks sleeping in the park or on a colleague's sofa or the office floor. And look, I reminded Jack that, well, most young people go through these phases like we did. That it'd pass. After the third suicide attempt, neither of us believed that. The psychiatrist said Janine didn't feel whole, that she felt there was a part of her missing. She felt like her friend had deserted her, leaving her alone, lonely, with no one to be close to. He asked, who could this friend be? And well, Jack said he couldn't think of anyone, and I kept my thoughts to myself. She was in therapy for nearly 2 years, gradually just getting back to the Janine we remembered. She got on really well with the psychiatric nurse, Sarah. Yeah, they shared the same sense of humour, the same taste in music and books and storytelling. Yeah, Sarah really boosted Janine's confidence. They sparked off each other, became friends. I went to an open mic that they were involved with. Oh, and it was just great to hear Janine laugh spontaneously, something I hadn't heard in years. Oh yeah, they really clicked. Look, I'd seen the looks between them. It was no surprise to me when Janine said they were getting engaged. Took Jack a while to take it in, though. I was so delighted when she said it was going to be a spring wedding. I imagined a lovely May day with the hawthorn trees dripping blossom, and but just like when Janine was born. When she said that it was going to be the 25th of March, I was gobsmacked. It brought it all back. Snow and ice in March. Beautiful but treacherous. I'd walked to the end of the garden to empty the kitchen bin. I'd made sure I'd got my wellies on. The snow was deep and it was still falling. It was on the way back that I tripped, sliding on some ice underneath the snow from the dripping overflow. The pain in my belly was instant. 4 months pregnant. I was rig welted, I couldn't turn over. My mouth was muffled with snow and I screamed as hard as I could, hoping the neighbours were in. Frida phoned an ambulance for me. She managed to turn me over. She wrapped me in blankets and came with me to the hospital. By the time Jack got there, Sally was dead. The doctors said there was nothing they could do. A scan showed that Janine was healthy, but to do a caesarean might compromise that, and with me being a first-time mum at 40, so I'd need to stay in for the rest of my term in case there were complications. It was so hard. Knowing Sally was dead inside me and feeling Janine kicking away. When Janine was born in May, I couldn't have a natural birth. Much as I wanted to, it wasn't possible. It had to be a caesarean. Janine was holding Sally. At least that's what it looked like. Protecting her. I've still got the picture that Jack took. But here we are. March the 25th. Sally's anniversary and her twin sister's wedding day. She looks so beautiful. Scared but beautiful. She keeps looking over her shoulder, smiling. Oh, I've a sense Sally's here. Pleased that Janine's found a protector, a real-life playmate, and also amused that she shares the same name. Well, Sally being a diminutive, an interchangeable name for Sarah.